Okay.
Okay.
So, good evening, and thank you very much for joining me this evening. My name is Peggy Kurtz. Before I begin, I just want to mention that we are recording this meeting, but we set the settings so that you should not be visible in the recording. So I'm here this evening to explain the Rockland Community Power Program, which is a community-based clean energy program in which the village of View-On-Hudson is participating. What we're talking about here this evening is renewable electricity for your community. I'm the community coordinator for Jewel Community Power, which is a division of Jewel Assets, which is the program administrator for your community. So you may have participated in the village electricity supply program in the previous round. That program ran successfully for 18 months and ended in September of 2024, as it was scheduled to do. Now the village electricity supply program is relaunching in May of 2025, following the previous successful contract. Again, participants will be able to power their homes and businesses with renewable electricity through the Rockland Community Power Program. Sorry, just going to take a drink of water. So here is a quick overview of the topics I'll be going over this evening. I'll explain the type of program that it is, which is a community choice aggregation program, some of the benefits, some of the logistics, how it actually works, the role of O&R, the enrollment process, and then I'll leave plenty of time for your questions and discussion. So quick overview of some of the benefits: support for renewable electricity, competitive fixed rates, strong consumer protection, and more choice for consumers. All of the same choices remain to you as before, with 2 additional choices. So this is what's called a Community Choice Aggregation Program, or CCA for short. What is the CCA program? Essentially, with CCA programs, municipalities create a large buying group through which residents and small businesses may purchase their electricity supply. These programs enable municipalities to leverage the buying power of that large group, usually thousands of households, to negotiate competitive rates for residents and small businesses. So if you move into the village of Grandview-on-Hudson today, Orange and Rockland will automatically be your electricity supply provider by default. This program shifts the choice of default supplier from the state to the village so that your elected officials can make the choice that's right for your community. The village can select renewable electricity as the default electricity option and do so at a competitive rate through the large buying group. CCA programs were authorized by the Public Service Commission in 2016, and they are regulated by the PSC. In 2019, in response to climate change, New York State passed groundbreaking climate legislation, which mandates an unprecedented transformation of the state's electric grid. The electric grid must be powered 70%. Okay, let me just admit somebody else. Okay, good evening and welcome. We're a little ways into the program, but I can give you more information at the end again if you need, for the part that you missed. We're just talking about the fact that New York State's climate legislation mandates that the electric grid must be powered 70% by renewable electricity by 2030. That's just 5 years away. And it must be 100% carbon-free by 2040. Without local action, the state cannot meet these goals, which will ultimately help to protect our communities and our own families. The program we're discussing today helps communities take a major step in the direction of these goals for renewable electricity. And in fact, state regulators recognize this type of program, CCA programs, with renewable electricity as one of the most powerful climate actions a community can take. CCA is a growing movement across the country and in New York State. Municipalities have been participating in the Rockland Community Power Program since late 2020. And multiple municipalities have signed up, some of them for their second contract, as in the village of View-On-Hudson, or for their third CCA contract. Since the first contract in 2020, Rockland Community Power has avoided 57,735 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalents through the purchase of New York State renewable electricity. So let's take a look at how this actually works for consumers. O&R remains as your utility. In New York State, the utility no longer actually generates the electricity. The utility essentially has become the middleman delivering the electricity to the customer. What changes with CCA is the source of the supply, all the way the source of the energy, all the way to on the left of this slide. Instead of the utility purchasing electricity for you from power plants, largely powered by gas, the electricity is supplied through the CCA program and is renewable electricity, either 50% New York State renewable or 100% New York State renewable. And I'll talk about that aspect more in a few minutes. O&R continues to deliver the electricity, repair and maintain lines, and bill customers. They are still the ones to call in the event of power outages. So you can see this same distinction between supply and delivery on your electric bill. So let's take a closer look at the bill. And this explanation will apply to you if you participate in the program. This is page 2 of an example O&R bill. On page 2, you'll see the electricity charges at the top in green and the gas charges on the bottom in blue. Again, the CCA program only impacts the electricity supply portion of your bill. This has no impact on the gas portion of your O&R bill if you have one. Delivery within the electricity supply portion of your bill, there are 2 subsections. Delivery is on the right-hand side, and this portion does not change because the utility continues to deliver your electricity. What does change is the supply portion of the bill in the red box on the left. And note that I've dropped in a red box around it, but ordinarily you won't see that, but you will see it on the left-hand side and says your supply charges. And that's where you will see changes if you are eligible and if you decide to participate in the program. There you will see the name of the new supplier. So in this particular case, in this past program that was in 2022, this was a bill for May to June of 2022. The supplier in this previous round of the program was Constellation New Energy. In May of 2025, when the program begins again, participants will see Direct Energy, which is the new supplier for the village program, which was selected in a bidding process. Under the title, your electric charges at the top, your supply charges, then it says electric charges. Underneath that, it says the period for which this pertained, May to June 30th. And then it says 500 kilowatt hours at 7.238 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's where you'll see the number of kilowatt hours that your household used for that particular month, the rate, and then immediately to the right, the supply charges, which represent before the sales tax. And then down at the bottom, the county electric sales tax has been added in. That pertains to you whether or not you participate in this program. Both your delivery charges, which go to the utility, and your supply charges as part of the CCA program are calculated, of course, based on how much electricity you use, which is measured in kilowatt hours. So now let's talk about the enrollment process. Most Orange and Rockland customers are eligible to participate. CCA programs are opt-out programs. That means that those who are eligible are automatically enrolled in the program after prior notification, but can opt out with no fees at any time. All eligible customers will be notified by mail of their options and how to change their selection within the program. And they can either opt up or opt to 100% or down to 50, well, or stay with the default, which is 50. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Or they can opt out altogether if they so choose without any fees. Okay, these are the categories of customers who are considered not eligible. They will not receive the mailing that goes out to all eligible customers, and they are not automatically enrolled because they are not eligible. So first there's the ESCO customers. These are customers already contracted with a third-party electricity supplier or energy service company. Also customers who have placed a block on their account. Customers who are home energy assistance program or HEAP recipients, customers on time of use accounts, or larger commercial customers with what's called demand accounts. We can talk about any of these categories in the Q&A if that applies to you. Before the program launches, you will receive a mailing with information about the program, and you will have 30 days to make a decision to whether or not you want to opt out. Eligible customers will be automatically enrolled in the default option within the program unless they opt out before the program begins. The mailing will give you 3 easy ways to opt out if that is your preference: by phone, by prepaid, postage paid reply card, or online through the online enrollment/unenrollment form. You can also change your option within the program through the helpline or online enrollment form. So now I've been saying it a couple of times that there's maybe options within the program. In the village of View-On-Hudson, the default option is for what's called 50% renewable electricity supply, New York State 50% renewable. I'll explain what 50% means in a minute. The program offers fixed rates for the term length of May 1st, 2025 to April 30th, 2026, and the selected electricity suppliers, you can see all of this at the top of the slide, is Direct Energy. In the packet, all eligible residents and small businesses receive in the mail before the program launches. You will receive a letter that includes a similar chart. So let's take a closer look for a minute. In the top line in white, you see the trailing 12-month average for the O&R past rates from January of 2024 through December of 2024. In the green line row below that, you see you see the default rate for the village of View-On-Hudson's program, and that rate is for 50% New York State renewable electricity supply at 11.21 cents per kilowatt hour. This is the default rate for your village. If you receive the mailing and do nothing, you will be switched into the program with this rate. Again, you can always opt out at any time or opt up. You can switch up to 100% within the program at any time with no fees. The village program also makes available the option of 100% New York State renewable fixed rate renewable supply at 12.09 cents per kilowatt hour. You're able to opt up to that option. If you do nothing, you will be with the default, which is the 50%. So let's take a closer look for a minute at the difference between these two program rates and the O&R rate. The O&R trailing 12-month average is included by the state for the sake of comparison, but please keep in mind that the O&R rate is for past rates, not for the future. The CCA rates are for the future. Utility supply rates are variable and change from month to month. The program rates are fixed or guaranteed. There are no surprises in the program. O&R, second difference is O&R supply rates are also for electricity sourced largely from power plants fueled by fossil fuels. Within the program, you have the option to receive electricity supply from either 50% New York State or 100% New York State renewable electricity, which I'll explain more in a minute. As said by the state, if you choose the renewable product offering, you will pay a premium for this product over the utility standard product pricing. What that means is that renewable electricity is still, unfortunately, somewhat more expensive than electricity powered largely by fossil fuels. But I know some people get confused by the word premium, there are no extra charges or fees. Everything is included in the posted rate. By participating, you will be contributing to achieving New York State clean energy goals. By choosing renewable electricity, you can make a measurable positive environmental impact by reducing your carbon footprint. This chart does not include something called the gross receipts tax. The rate you will see on your O&R bill will include the gross receipts tax, which will most likely be labeled as GRT, which stands for gross receipts tax. That is collected by your village, whether or not you participate in the CCA program. So the rate for the 100% renewable electricity will appear bundled with the GRT on your bill. And residential and small commercial rates, including the GRT, are for 50% renewable, the default rate, 11.32 cents per kilowatt hour. For 100% renewable, which you can opt up to, is 12.21 cents per kilowatt hour. So now I just want to briefly explain the difference between 50 and 90%. 50% New York State renewable means that 50% of your electricity supply is matched by renewable energy certificates, or RECs, provided by New York State renewable power plants, hydropower, wind, or solar. The remaining 50% is matched by RECs sourced from other U.S. renewable electricity sources that are not tracked or verified by the New York State Department of Public Service. The 50% renewable option is not counted as 100% renewable by New York State. 100% New York State renewable means that 100% of your electricity supply is matched by renewable energy certificates provided by New York State renewable power plants, hydropower, wind, or solar. Okay, let's talk about the timeline. I've mentioned before that all eligible households and small businesses should get a packet in the mail, and that will come in mid-March. That will be followed by a 30-day opt-out period running from March 10th to April 8th. You can opt out at any time during the program for no fee. There will be additional meetings when you get that packet. After you get the packet, the program, I'll talk about the opt-out more in a minute. The program will launch May 1st, 2025, and in your next bill after that date, you will see the default supplier, or if you decide to participate in the program, or for a 50% New York State renewable, and direct energy identified on page 2 of your O&R bill, unless you either opt out of the program or opt up to the 100%. Okay, I've already explained the information packet will include the rates, the benefits, terms, conditions, the opt-out options, the frequently asked questions, I've already mentioned you can opt out easily by mail, online, or through the helpline. That helpline is open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. You can always call out of hours, leave a message, and we'll call you back. So what is it? The mailing will also include information about more info sessions. So the difference between the initial 30-day opt-out period and opting out once the program begins is that once the 30-day period is over, you will automatically be moved into the program if you have not opted out. If you opt out after the 30-day period, it will take 1 or 2 billing cycles to leave the program and return to supply from the utility. After the 30-day period, the program will launch, and then on your next, you will, okay, I've already mentioned that after the opt-out period, after you opt out after the opt-out period, it will take 1 or 2 billing cycles to leave the program, and you will see the, but there are no exit fees at any time. You can always exit anytime afterwards. You can go into the program or out of the program or switch within the program. So I want to take a quick look at some of the materials so you'll know what to expect. The envelope will come from your municipality. On the outside, it will say, "Do not discard, important notice regarding electricity rate." It will include the village logo, which is how you'll know that it's legitimate, and the name of the village. This package will also include the letter with your options and the chart that I mentioned, which provides the program default rates and compares the program rates with a trailing 12-month average for O&R's rate, which will be slightly different than what we saw today, as it is updated each month. This is the opt-out card. Just want to give you a chance to look at it, that you can fill out and return with a prepaid envelope in order to opt out, if that's your preference. Card may look a little different from this, but I just want you to get an idea of what it looks like. Now I'm going to go quickly through some frequently asked questions. This program does not replace your utility company. You continue to pay your O&R bill. O&R remains responsible for delivery, maintenance of the grid, and billing. There is no impact on reliability of your electricity. The utility continues to deliver your electricity and provides the same service whether you participate in the program or not. Will this program save me money? Savings are not guaranteed. When people ask us, will this program save me money? What they're really asking for is a comparison with utility rates, but utility rates change from month to month and are not published in advance. How can you change your supply choice? Once the program launches, you may call the helpline or fill out the enrollment change form on your website to change your supply selection, opt out, or opt back into the program with no fees or penalties. Can I participate if I have my own solar panels, or participate in community solar? Yes, even if you use solar power, you are still required to have a supplier on your utility bill to cover any electricity not provided by your solar. I'm glad to answer more questions about this in the Q&A. What happens when the program ends? When the contract ends, your municipality may choose to renew participation in the program. If not, you will automatically switch back to O&R selecting supply on your behalf. I like to end with the benefits: opportunity for 50% or 100% renewable electricity, competitive rates, strong consumer protection, no individual contracts, and no exit fees at any time. Okay. Sorry. Okay. This is our contact information. You can always call the helpline Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 845-859-9099. As I mentioned, you can call out of hours and leave a message. We will call you back. The email is info@rocklandcommunitypower.com, and the website is rocklandcommunitypower.com. So now I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm ready for your questions.
Is there someone else?
There's one other person, yep, and I'm
If they'd like to go first?
Chris, you can unmute, or you can you can also put questions into the chat.
I'll go ahead if it's
Okay, go
helpful.
ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
So I just want to confirm that individual residents of Grandview can opt out at any time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can opt out during that initial period or at any time afterwards.
Okay. Also that you mentioned that the last term that we participated in was 18 months, and this one is 12 months. Can you give a brief explanation of that?
I'm not really qualified to answer that. I would say that it probably has to do with conditions in the energy market.
Okay.
And we were able to get the best price for the municipalities. I mean, that was clear. That's the simple explanation, is that we were able to get a better price by going with a shorter contract.
I see. Okay. The other question I have, which you may or may not be able to answer, what typically, well, first of all, on one of the graphs you showed, basically talking about like a 3-cent change for kilowatt hour for the 50% opt-in, and like a 4-cent change per kilowatt hour for the 100% renewal within the range, right? I think it was 0.08, then it went to 0.11, then it went to 0.12, I think. What typically does a kilowatt hour cover in a residential home?
That's a good question. Again, believe what I've seen at some point in the past, that for the average household in the communities that we were covering, I believe the average was something like 750 kilowatt hours per month.
Okay,
I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's what, it really varies quite a bit. Size of your
right.
home. What are you plugging into electricity? Do you have an electric range? Electric, a heat pump, et cetera, that, all of that kind of thing. How much electricity do you use? That's really,
We use about 100 kilowatt hours per week.
Per
okay.
week.
That's very economical. That's
Okay.
really, that's
So
great.
so
Yeah.
if a res, if a
How many
resident,
people in the house? That's the other big factor.
right,
Yeah.
right. But it's not like sometimes they can do comparisons like it'll run your refrigerator for a month, or two, or for a day. I mean, I just wanted to get a better sense
I'm
of what a
sure you,
kilowatt hour was.
I'm sure you can get that information if you go
Yeah,
online, but I don't have it readily available to you. Uh,
okay.
I,
I'm
think
just trying to
that
ballpark.
ORU sends you, I think you can get ORU to send you a weekly electricity update if you want.
Okay,
yeah, they have a lot of data on their website. Like if you go into your account, you
yeah,
can find a lot of data, and you probably can get a weekly, if not daily, account of your usage. So I just want to warn that I'm going to have to wrap up soon. So I just wanted to make sure that we get questions in, and if not, I want to encourage you to call the helpline or email us for more information. But so essential questions that you want to ask, I'm definitely glad to answer them.
no, those were just the few things I wanted to touch
Okay.
on.
Okay. Chris, do you have questions?
No, I put in the chat, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Well
Okay.
done.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you for your time.
It's a lot to go through. I hope it was helpful.
Totally
Yes.
was.
Okay. Again, the helpline number is 845-859-9099, and the email is info@rocklandcommunitypower.com, and you can also ask to speak with me if you contact either of us. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
joining us.
thank you. Have a
Okay,
good
great.
evening.
Okay, you too. Good night.